Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I'm George. We're all George. So, welcome to another market open stream. Good morning. So today we got to talk about what's going on this morning, what's going on for this week, and what's going on with Bitcoin. If this Bitcoin pattern repeats just like it did in 2019, what does that mean? How high will Bitcoin go? Well, let's talk about all these things and more today. So, welcome, guys. And I just made the morning bell, the best bell in the industry. And we are opening this morning in the green, and apparently, it looks like, yes, apparently in the green. I don't know. It's kind of even. Last week, we don't know. Last week was kind of up and down, a little sideways movement, really no momentum in either direction. This week, I think today will probably be the same thing because everyone is, again, looking to see what Powell's going to say. This is not an FOMC meeting. This is just him talking to a group of investors. This will be tomorrow and Wednesday. So today, probably no movement because people just want to hear what he has to say. Because since the last meeting, we received a couple more economic data that shows softening, but labor force still strong. PCE inflation went up while CPI went down, so people are really anxious to hear what he has to say. Now, next week, I think will be even more important than this week because we do get another CPI reading that will be measuring inflation in February. And then the week after that, we had the FOMC meeting. So for the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you know what? We may get some volatility. And this week, we do have a lot of economic data that's also coming out, right? Unemployment rate this Friday. We're at a 53 or 55-year low right now. Is that going to hold? Non-farm payrolls, is that going to increase, right? As more people are finding jobs. Jobless claims, is that still going to decrease? We got a lot of stuff here, a lot of labor data, unemployment data this week. So can we expect some volatility? Yes, but doesn't mean, when I say volatility, doesn't mean it's always bad. It could be good. Although when it comes to economic data, generally speaking, you don't have things that's going to drive the market up because everyone thinks good economic data makes this guy more hawkish. That's the problem right now. But we'll see. Right now, as for Bitcoin is kind of stuck to, 22.4, right? So people are wondering what's going to happen. We received a lot of FUD last week because of Silvergate. And I have more to share about this in a little bit. But right now, we're caught between FUD from Silvergate and also positive news from China. We know that China is recovering right now, right? Their economy is blooming or getting there. And supply chain issues are dissipating. So these are great things, right? So which one is going to affect Bitcoin more, right? We don't know. But I do know this. Silvergate is temporary. Even though the FUD is real, it is temporary, and we will get past it. But right now, it seems like this is another source of FUD that, again, we have FTX to thank for. This is another FTX contagion. But we will get past this. As for DXY, for some of you guys, they're curious about DXY. We're trending down a little bit. If you look at a past week, it's we've been lower, but we also been higher. We're kind of going sideways, right? DXY is another indicator of how strong the dollar is. And people gravitate to the dollar whenever there's FUD and weakness, and we have seen DXY climb a little bit higher, but not too bad. So something else to pay attention to, but we haven't really seen it move in either direction for a couple weeks now. Now, as for Bitcoin itself, well, first of all, there is an inverse correlation between DXY and Bitcoin, right? So this is why I always bring up DXY, because you may be wondering, well, what does the strength of the dollar have to do with Bitcoin? It does, because whenever the DXY does go down, when people take their money out of the dollar, what does that mean? They're buying something with it, right? So they usually buy risk-on assets like tech stocks and Bitcoin. You can clearly see the inverse relationship, right? And even though we were climbing down from its peak of like 115, we're not quite there back to where we want, and that would be around 80 something, below 100. We were getting very close at one point, right? But now we crept up a little bit. But if DXY continues to go down, right, beyond 100 and down to 90s or 80s, only good things will happen to Bitcoin. So there's that to look forward to, and this is pretty self-explanatory, right? When you're looking at coming up from bottom, whenever there is a crossover, especially with, well, if you just look at the basic, you just look at monthly RSI. Monthly RSI is coming up from bottom. Actually, in fact, we were at a point, the most oversold point from a monthly scale ever in Bitcoin's history. So think about that, first of all, right? So if that happened, that means the recovery could be the fastest in Bitcoin's history too. The recovery could be tremendous. But this one is looking at the RSI crossover with the SMA 14, okay? And when you look at that, well, usually when things cross, that's usually when Bitcoin's coming out from bottom and good things happen, right? So there's, of course, there's that. There's a lot of this kind of stuff. But this is the one that I wanted to really talk about. I mean, I've shown stuff like this before, but I mean, just look at how uncanny our patterns right now versus 2019, right? Even though the scenario is different, even though we're in a very different macro environment, okay? Yeah, I realize all that, but still, you look at how Bitcoin fell from top, established a bottom, right? Then broke through the trend line. This is a multi-year trend line. This is not like a daily trend line, okay? We're talking about a multi-year trend line, right? And then what happens afterwards? You have a really good recovery. I remember when we went from 3,000 to 14,000, right? I was actually at Disney World when we hit 14,000. I was streaming from the pool. I remember that point vividly, right? But if you're looking at that same mark, which is the 618 Fibonacci level, that would put Bitcoin at 50,000 if we're following the same pattern, right? And this is why so many people think that realistically we could hit it as soon as like June or July maybe, because that's how fast we recovered in 2019. So can we repeat the same kind of recovery in 2023? It would be amazing. It would be amazing if it happened, despite the FUD, you know, everything that we just gone through with the FTX collapse, Silvergate, and all this stuff, right? It would be amazing to see it happen. And here's the thing. It could happen because, like I just said, Bitcoin has never been this oversold, right? When we went down to 15,000, even though the price is higher than 3,000, but if you're measuring from top, we have never been this oversold. We had the longest drawdown time in Bitcoin's history. Who's to say we can't recover just as quick, if not even quicker than before, right? And then who knows? After we hit that point, we'll probably come down a little bit. And then after the halving event, who knows how high Bitcoin will be? 150,000, 200,000, 250,000? All we can do is guess at this point, right? But if we do follow that same recovery as 2019, things could move very, very, very quickly within the next 3 to 4 months, okay? 3 to 4 months. Imagine that 50K by June or January. That would be crazy and not be totally unexpected either. All right, and here's one that goes back even further, right? A little complicated, but I just showed you 2019. What about 2015? Same thing. After breaking through a multi-year trend line, which is down, when Bitcoin breaks through, good things happen. It's really that simple, right? When we break through, and all this is due to the halving event. In case you're wondering, well, why does it happen every 4 years, right? In case you don't know, it's due to the halving event. The halving event is where the number of Bitcoins being released or found per block is decreased in half every 4 years. That's why it's called a halving event. And eventually it'll get to a point where there is no more. Okay, we don't have to worry about that for quite some time. But the inflation rate is being cut in half every 4 years. Unlike the USD, which keeps on increasing forever, which means the buying power of your USD keeps decreasing every year, Bitcoin goes in reverse. Bitcoin makes it more scarce every 4 years, and there will be a set supply, right? Big difference between USD and Bitcoin. And then lastly, I want to show you guys this about Bitcoin. The number of exchange deposits is getting really, really, really low. And whenever it gets really low, and this is only going back a month, but take a look. Before Bitcoin started coming up, right, the number of exchange deposits of Bitcoin fell down pretty hard. And this was when Bitcoin was hovering around 15, 16K, right? Then what happened, right? We saw that pretty good recovery up to 25,000. So take a look at exchange deposits right now. Very, very low once again, 1 month low. So does that mean we're setting up for the next leg up? Just like a month ago when we pumped up to 25,000. Could happen, but overall, we know that less and less people are depositing Bitcoin into the exchanges, and more Bitcoin are being withdrawn from exchanges. So that's why the exchange reserves keeps diving and keeps dropping down. And that leads to scarcity, and that's good. That's good. And you know what? It's not just Bitcoin. So if you look at like Ethereum, look at Ethereum's balance on exchanges. Hit a 4-year low and continues to go down. Even though my camera is cutting this off a little bit. But I mean, just take a look at that. That's a huge, tremendous drop. So it's not just Bitcoin. It's everything. It's everything, including Ethereum. And the more they go down, the better, of course. Again, just because it becomes more scarce, right? And eventually, maybe another 5 years, maybe in 10 years, there'll be very little left to be traded on these centralized exchanges. And then, if you think about it, then I don't know what's going to happen to the price, because at that point, you know, think about the 8 billion people that are not exposed to crypto yet. Imagine if all of them starts trying to get in while the supply on exchanges plummet, right? So you have supply doing this and demand doing this. What's going to happen to the price? It pretty much goes up like this to the moon or Mars or beyond. So good things are happening everywhere, not just for Bitcoin, but for Ethereum. And I'm sure if you measure the balance of, let's say, BNB or Cardano or all these other major players, it's probably the same thing too. All right, so speaking of some of that FUD, right, because of what's been happening with Silvergate, you know, a lot of exchanges now have to come up with a backup plan, right? Kraken, actually, they're not announcing plans to launch their own bank, become their own bank, probably because they feel like they can't trust anyone anymore, right? Everyone severed ties with Silvergate. And you know what? The other major bank out there that helps, you know, crypto exchanges onboard and offboard, on-ramp and off-ramp fiat is Signature. And Signature recently implemented a rule where you can't do SWIFT transactions less than 100,000. This first affected Binance, right? And then people were like blaming Binance. Oh, it's a Binance thing. No, it's a Signature bank thing, right? So Kraken even steps away from Signature Bank. So Kraken right now, they don't use Silvergate or Signature. So I don't know who they actually use for fiat on-ramp or off-ramp. But they do want to become their own bank or come out with a bank that helps with this. We'll see if this happens. They're under a lot of scrutiny right now, obviously, right? SEC went after them, forced them to stop staking. Are there other things coming? We don't know, right? But there's just a lot of uncertainty in the U.S. because of Gary Gensler. He's causing a whole lot of problems right now, and no one knows what's coming next. We need companies and people to stand up to Gary Gensler, which is why Coinbase started at 365 initiative, right, to get people involved, right? But that's what's happening right now. So Kraken feels like they need to come out their own bank. Coinbase, they dumped Silvergate last week, as did so many others. So Coinbase signs up as a Signature Bank. But again, because Signature Bank has that 100,000 rule, right? This is limited to their Prime accounts, which are institutional accounts. So I don't know who they're using for like smaller retail accounts, but it's causing a whole lot of exchanges problems. Bybit just announced that they were stopping USD withdrawals too and USD deposits for the same reason, because they don't know who to use anymore. So that's why they introduced MasterCard debit cards to allow people to spend their crypto while they're trying to figure things out, right? So it's causing a whole lot of disruption. And this is the reason why so many are starting to learn about DeFi. I know, it's very convenient to use these exchanges, and I still do too. It's not like I'm totally off, right? It's really easy to use the exchanges, especially for a lot of these smaller cap coins, right? And I get that. But more and more people are turning DeFi because of the FTX situation and because of all the banking shenanigans that's happening right now, right? And plus, if you want to be completely secure with your own crypto, not your keys, not your crypto, right? You have to know how to store your crypto on your own wallet, right? And I think that's the biggest problem. That's the biggest problem that people have is they think it's too complicated. They don't want to learn that. But honestly, even if you don't use it, which you should definitely know how to secure your crypto on a Ledger or Trust Wallet, right? Or MetaMask, whatever it may be. Know how to transfer in and out. Know how to secure your seed phrase, which is basically recovery phrase, right? And learn how to connect to a DEX and use it, right? It's not that difficult. These days it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy. But yeah, I think moving forward, there will be a lot more people that will be utilizing DeFi. And DeFi is actually terrific. As long as there's enough liquidity and you remember to leave a little bit for gas, which is annoying. But outside of that, DeFi has come a long, long way. Long way. So, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, that is what's going on this morning. U.S. market is kind of flat like I expected. Silvergate is still dumping like crazy. Silvergate went from like $20 to $5 in a matter of a few days. Tesla's down a little bit. Coinbase is down a little bit. Okay. Let's do some Q&A. All right, let me scroll down from the top. Skipping Stoned said, accumulate now or regret later. That's usually what happens to people that do not DCA and sit on the sidelines. Let's see. Rick Ho Jr. I've been here for 14 months and plan on many more. Thank you for your support. Arnell, how do you feel about a 10th generation Civic versus 11? And I'm talking about performance and style. Well, the performance of the new one is better than the old one. Style, it really depends on how young you are. If you're in your 20s, then you probably think the 10th generations look a whole lot better. If you're in your 30s or 40s, you probably think the 11th gen is better. So it really depends on your age, I think. But performance in the new ones are better than the old, like the new Type R. Holly, I want to get off Binance for purchasing. What platform would you recommend that's safe? Not to store, but to buy. I mean, it depends, Holly, where you are. If you're in the U.S., Binance.us is still my go-to exchange. But besides that, you have Coinbase and you have Gemini and then you have Kraken. They're all legit. So I don't know if that's what you're looking for. If you're outside the U.S., you know, Binance.com is the biggest, and then you have like KuCoin, which is huge, and then you have some smaller players like Gate or Mexi or Bybit. I mean, I say smaller players, but not like Bybit's huge. There's a lot of them out there. OKX, which I've never used before, they're huge too. So there's a lot of legitimate ones. Doesn't mean that you have to store your crypto on there like you said, right? But you could definitely use them to trade. Woke up early for the first time for your stream, but I see you in there all the time. In my hero, I'm glad you enjoy it because so many people asked me, so I did another house update video. I'm just gonna limit it inside the house, obviously, but there's a lot of things happening, so if people enjoy it, I'll create a little bit more, but it is very, very expensive. Everything is over budget. It's never under budget. It's always over budget. What about Ripple that changed their tone about the case? Now they're telling cryptos to leave US because SEC winning. I did not hear that, and I don't believe that's true. Hey George, since learning that Sol doesn't test their chain, you're talking about before an upgrade, do you think that Avalanche could push past Sol, or do you think Sol will win against Avalanche? Long term, I don't know. I think Avalanche has great potential, but Solana still has a lot of fans, still have potential, but they're just shooting ourselves in the foot right now, right? They couldn't help the FTX situation, but all these network outages, no one else seems to have them, and they continue to have more and more. And now it came out that their plan is to test upgrades on a testnet chain before releasing the mainnet chain. I'm like, why were they not doing that before? That just seems idiotic. So they're really shooting themselves in the foot right now. So I don't know. Can it happen? Can Avalanche move past Solana eventually? Yeah. Definitely. You think Doge will hit $1 in 5 years? You know, it can happen. it could happen. It'll be a little bit above 100 billion. You know, can that happen? Yeah, it could. It could. Scott, don't ask me about ICP. Not a project I care about. How high can optimism go realistically if it gains adoption? All right, here's the honest truth. All the ones that you guys have heard of, all the cryptos, especially the L1s, L2s, have a 10x potential at the very bare minimum. A lot of them I do think could go beyond that, 12x, 15x, maybe 20x. Smaller caps could go more, way more than 20x. Could do a 30, 40, 50x, right? But the bigger players, all the ones that you guys have heard of, they could do a 10x. Okay, so I'll just leave it at that. Optimism could do a 10x, but can it go higher? Sure, it really depends on how much adoption it gain within the next 2 years. What do you think about a tokenized housing market project? I don't like tokenized real estate. I don't like fractional real estate. I think there are certain things that you just shouldn't do, in my opinion. And I get it. I get why people want to do it, but you know, there are certain things that you just want whole. You don't want to own a fraction of it, right? And I see real estate being one of those things. But can you tokenize or use NFTs for other things in housing? Yes, like contracts, for example, deeds, titles. You know, there's so many things that happen in real estate world that are very archaic, and there seems to be no improvements with them. Those things can be improved with tokenization or with NFTs, but fractionalizing real estate, in my opinion, I don't like it. Do I think KuCoin is okay? Yes. Yes, I do. They were a small guy, small exchange, very small in 2017, 2018. Now they have become a huge powerhouse. Do I think BNB will outperform other L1s? I'm not so sure. I don't know. I like BNB a lot. There's certainly a lot of Binance FUD right now. There's a lot of Binance FUD. But will they continue to do well versus others? Right now, the answer is no. They have not moved at all because I think because of all the FUD. Look at that 90-day performance. BTC is 32%, Ethereum is 25%. Polygon 24%, Solana 50% basically, but BNB 0% in the last 90 days, right? I think that's due to one reason, all the Binance FUD. People are spreading a ton of FUD about Binance, causing a lot of fear. For some reason, people want to like somehow take down CZ or take down Binance. First of all, those things are not going to happen. And second of all, if they did, people don't realize what kind of disaster that would cause. It would be like Mount Gox again. So I don't think people really want that, but people think it's the cool thing to do. But, you know, once we're past it, BNB will probably regain its footing and continue forward. But the chain itself is still great. The growing DEX is, and growing DeFi projects are increasing. And plus, there's a lot of other DEXs from other chains that want to move and utilize BNB chain too. Loop Network, 150,000 TPS. Yeah, Troy, I mean, there's a lot of chains that claim they can scale infinitely, but that doesn't really mean anything. Yes, Ethereum can't scale, but everything else seems to be pretty quick and can scale. So having a high number like that is great, but the chains themselves are not utilizing that at all, nowhere close. So you can't use that as the only criteria of whether or not it's a good chain, right? Parameric. Hey, George, just started investing in Bitcoin and a few others. Thanks for sharing your insights. Thanks for being here, and I'm glad. I'm glad to hear it. Am I bidding on 12-fold today? No. I can't get myself to buy the very expensive NFTs, even though I do think any Bitcoin NFT that's being like sold right now will be worth a ton in the future. I don't know. I think ordinals, any ordinals will be worth a ton in the future. I don't know about 12-fold because it's kind of like they're the first from Yuga Labs, but they're kind of like the second NFTs, right? They could definitely be worth something a lot in the future. I don't know how much they're going for, but they could be worth a ton too. But I can't get myself to spend a lot on them. Spring is almost here, yes. Yasin, I watch you while working for Amazon in the warehouse or as a driver. Don't watch me while you're driving. But I appreciate it. Hey, Coinbase turned green. That's good. We want to see Coinbase turn green. Lordstown Motors, no idea who they are. I don't know why that's on the front page. No one cares about that. The market is turning green. Is Silvergate still really down? Yeah, Silvergate. Silvergate is so volatile right now. I don't know if it's a good play or not. I got duped because, BlackRock and others announced that they were investing more into Silvergate, right? And then they started dumping. Joe Labras, probably not. No. And, to be frank, I don't do any interviews really. So that may change in the future, but not right now. I like the way things are. Fumbles. Oh, seems like a lot of people watch me during their drive. I know some people asked for like a podcast or audio version, right? I would like to do that in the future. I did that before with some services, but I can't do it anymore. Those services kind of like became obsolete. So I may do that in the future. But then you can't really, when you're listening to me, most of the time I'm showing something while I'm talking, right? And if you can't see when I'm showing, then I don't know how entertaining it is. But whatever. I'll try to work on something. Robert, any TV show update? No, but recording Recording will start soon, right? I'm excited about it. I'm very excited about this project. I think this TV show could propel crypto into mainstream, right? Kind of like Shark Tank did for investing. Shark Tank became so popular, and you know, the next crypto gem could do the same thing for crypto. I'm hoping it does, right? There's from what I hear, there's a lot of distribution, TV distribution. You know, it's on Bespoke TV, but Insight TV also signed up, and Amazon of Europe, I think, is signing up. There's a lot of stuff happening. It could really, it's exciting, and I don't know how it is, or how it will be on the set. You know, I don't know, with all the different cameras looking at me and all this stuff. I don't know how that's gonna be, but it sounds exciting. I don't know when the show is actually going to debut. Let's create a persona now. I was thinking about that, Troy. I was thinking about just like acting like a person that's totally different than who I am. I've been wondering about that, whether or not that would be a good thing or not. Gary Mobile Care says Gary overreached and got greedy with Silvergate. Now the big players, Circle, Coinbase, BlackRock, will stop them. You heard it here first. I am George. Well, I hope so. I mean, these guys, we got some pretty big players in the crypto field, right? A lot of people with a lot of, not people, but there are a lot of people that are extremely wealthy with deep resources, but companies that have deep pockets, and they need to stand against. You know, I love to see everyone stand together, but it seems like everyone's kind of doing their own thing. But we need people to stand against Gary, honestly. Coinbase certainly has enough to do it. Binance.us certainly has enough, right? Circle, and you got others that can stand up too. Even guys like, you know, non-crypto players. I don't know about BlackRock standing up to SEC, but I think SEC listens to BlackRock. If Larry Fink makes a call to Gary, I think Gary's go listen. But like even others, like the miners, the MicroStrategies of the world, right? Michael Saylor, and then Fidelity. There's a ton. There's a ton of companies that believe in crypto, right? They need to just stand up against Gary, or stand together and stand up against Gary. That's what I love to see. Crypto Grady, I'm so pumped for the next crypto gem. I need to look into the token economics of the coin. What do you think? I'm gonna hold my opinion about it until down the road. I don't want to say anything. I think it's too early to be talking about it right now, but I will let you do the research and share your thoughts on it. What do you recommend to accumulate till the next bull run? BTC or ETH? Both. You don't have to pick a singular coin. Both are great, and there's many beyond BTC and ETH that are great as well. All things ETH. Unpopular opinion. Gary is keeping price low with FUD so the whales can buy your bags. That makes sense. Or his friends to fill their bags. You know, makes sense. I'm sure Gary knows a lot of crypto people. Plus, maybe he's filling his own bags. I mean, Gary's filthy rich. He's filthy rich. He's I think that's what you call a centimillionaire. Over 100 million net worth, right? Maybe he's loading his pockets. Who polices the police? That's the thing, right? He's a securities chair, but who polices him? Seems like no one. Seems like he's running wild. No one cares. Who knows if he's manipulating the market for his own self, his self gains. We don't know. Who's auditing him? No one knows. At what point in this current cycle will you start discussing exit strategies? Nowhere close, Mike. When we're above 100,000, yeah, I'll start discussing it. When we're above, let's say, a previous high, 69,000, 70,000, then I'll start discussing it. But not while we're at 22, 23,000. This is not the time for that. Jack, yes. Anything that's the I Am George strap-on NFTs on Polygon, but I do believe you can store that. I was going to say any ERC20 based NFT can be stored on Ledger, but I don't know about Polygon based NFTs. I'm pretty sure you can. That's a good question. I store it on MetaMask, so I have to look into that. I don't know, actually. All right, guys. Let's call it a stream. Bitcoin's still going sideways. The U.S. market is still going sideways. A little bit in the green this morning. But overall, I think people are waiting to see what Powell says tomorrow and on Wednesday, right? Will he be hawkish still or even more hawkish than he was last FOMC press conference? Or will he turn more dovish? And that's what everyone's waiting for, right? But Bitcoin is still Bitcoin, still moving along. And we're following the same pattern as 2019. Well, guess what? 50K could be coming in 3 to 4 months. So that's exciting. But overall, we know Bitcoin's heading a lot higher than that. All right. Smash it a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys tonight, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And that's it. All right. Have a good one. Bye-bye.